The following is a presentation of Retro Sports Network, home of the champions in the past, present, and or future. And presented by DigitalDice.com, the best darn podcast on the web for your sports simulation and replay needs. Find us today on Spotify, Spreaker, iTunes, or wherever else fine podcasts are listed. Hi there, it's Uncle Ron Juckett. How are you? We're doing something a little different today. I'm going to give you my first impressions of a game that I bought. Not that you have done this before. This will probably be a collection of 2 or 3 videos, at least as I try to figure out the game. But just from trying to read through the directions, and I'm going to show you a sample card from said game. I'm just going to be honest with you throughout the next few minutes. The name of the game is Classic F1. If you're familiar with time travel tennis or classic soccer, you're familiar with Anthony. Anthony 1, I believe, is his screen name over at Delphi, or 1G. I don't know what his name is. And I'm sorry, George, that I don't know that. But he has created the games, as I said, Time Travel Tennis, which is the premier card and dice and computer shot-by-shot tennis game. I've featured it a few times on my channel. And Classic Soccer, which doesn't stream all that well. Again, the pre-ultimate card and dice soccer game. We've had a few streams on the channel. Don't have the card and dice version, but it plays very, very well. So no hesitation at all in forking over the whatever it was. I spent $34.95, $39.95 for the game for this. Classic F1, of course, being Formula One racing, the preeminent form of auto racing outside of the United States. It is, of course, 19-20 tracks a year, best 20 drivers in the world, open wheel vehicles, now with wings and all that. And so they race on road courses and street courses, not ovals. Nothing wrong with oval racing, but if you're familiar with Formula One, that's what you get. And so, what do you get when you purchase the game? I bought it as a download, and the download was instantaneous, which was great. And it came with a 166-page PDF. Now, what do you get with your 166-page PDF? Oh, let me tell you. I believe the first 20 pages or so are rules. It is a complex game, some of which we're going to go through in a few minutes, okay? So you get rules for the game. You get all 20 drivers from the 2019 season. And then you get 33, everyone who has won Formula One World Championship. You get all those too. So if you just want to do the greatest drivers of all time, you can do that. Okay, so that takes up about 53 pages of the PDF. And then you have a whole collection of charts. Oh my God, the charts are charts. There's some serious detail here. This is not for the beer and pretzel crowd. And then each track from the 2019 season has a 2-page card, essentially. One with, I think, like a rare roll chart or something like that. I haven't gotten that far in the game. And one that you roll on for, I think, most of the game play. So each track is there. And there's a track pack, which I do intend to pick up at some point, which has a lot of historic tracks and full-length tracks, such as Spa, when it was a road course, and the Nordschleife, 25 kilometers of fun, and I think even Watkins Glen or whatever. Certainly anything's got to be better than Coda for a Formula One course. So theoretically, you never have to buy another set of cards for this, for drivers, but he has multiple driver sets per decade that you could pick up. I think he actually has every Formula One driver rated ever, which is pretty gosh darn remarkable. It really is an amazing game. It's also amazingly complex, and from trying to spend a couple hours with it yesterday, that complexity got to be a bit frustrating in trying to figure out some basic things. So I'm not going to show you the directions or most of the charts, but in the sample that he gives in the directions, he talks about Ayrton Senna. So I'm going to show you the Ayrton Senna card. Hopefully, you can read that just fine. The cool thing about this is that you can roll for any Ayrton Senna car he ever drove in Formula One, from when he was a rookie in 1984 through what he drove in his last year when he was killed, unfortunately, at Imola in 1994. And so you can see all the different cars, and those numbers have specific meaning in parentheses there. So let's say you see the yellow from 40 to 49. It's pretty basic. You start with two 10-sided dice. You roll them together. Obviously, you want a different color. So let's say you rolled a 44, which would be my lucky number. You see all that in gold there, the Honda Marlboro McLaren and the 1.5 McLaren MP4 Honda V6 that he drove in 88 when he won the championship. That is the best car you can have. It looks like to me that the numbers in parentheses get you a base rating. So if you look at that 40 to 49 line, that 1 next to the Honda Marlboro McLaren, and then the 1MO means that his base rating is essentially 1. You can't get better than that. The number after the M is his mechanical rating. So if he happened to have a mechanical check, let's take a look at, if he rolled an 80, let's say his 92 Honda Marlboro McLaren with a 6B engine, 3M10. So if he was to get a mechanical check, you roll a 20-sided die. If it's 1 to 10, he is retired. If not, he keeps going on. It's a very complex game. There's 3 ways you can actually use Senna in here. You can just roll a 6-sider and pick a car from whatever his prime numbers are. So 1 would be 88, his first championship year, 2, 89, 3, 90, so on and so forth. So 88 through 93. And so let's say you rolled a 4. You take his 1991 car, which is still pretty good. It's the Honda Marlboro McLaren, and that. And so it'd be 1 and 1, and a mechanical rating of 4. Now, there's some math involved in all this, and I suppose it makes sense. You go with his base rating and then add his pole rating. It's just kind of complex. The lower the number, the better. So I haven't quite figured out how that part works yet. But you average the two together, he gets a number, and then you roll 2 10-sided die to come up with a decimal. And ideally, if you replay the season, well, he had 68 poles and 164 starts. So again, all just quite there and there. So you can do full qualifying with it. I tried. I got lost. The tracks matter. I'll show you a track in a second. Also, what else is on the card? He doesn't get lose any basic rating for his rain. And if he really wants to go balls to the wall on a red line, he can. You can take 3 away from that. I mean, just incredible stuff. The word flap you see there has nothing to do with a 20s female dancer. It has to do with fastest lap. And again, we'll get to what I don't like in a minute. But again, that's if you roll 2 10-sider dice, it becomes 1 to 24. He motors. Now, accident rating there. And of course, since he died on the track, you actually can have him killed if you would so want. I don't know why you would do that, but that's that for that. So basically, you're trying to get what you can off the cards. I put them onto an Excel spreadsheet so it could read what you have for me, there, and then run the race. There's no visual tracks per se. Let me pause this, and actually we'll call up I'll cheat a little bit and show you the track package. All right, this is my favorite circuit. It's Spa-Francorchamps in Belgium. And so I'm not quite sure what triggers a roll here. But is obviously 2 10-sided die, and you roll to see, let's say if you rolled a 44, both men, it has to do, I think, with, it's like a rare play chart. But it shows you a nice illustration of what the track looks like. so you get a good visual in your mind. But this is primarily what you look for. And so you'd roll a 10-sided dice and you get the accident chance on a 0 or maybe 9. 8, no changes. 7 and 6, it's the base ratings for the drivers. There's some tactics involved here. It tells you how many laps to count for. So a race at Spa would be 44 laps. Basically, it's like one roll and one driver per lap. So you have drivers 1 through 20. It tells you what to check for a driver. So in that sense, I think it works a lot like Red, White, and Blue Racing from Play.com, where you're not rolling for everybody. You're just basically getting one highlight per lap, or 2 highlights per lap, I think. Anyway, there's a D6 roll for passing. Not quite sure how that works yet. You can roll for weather. So if you roll a 1 through a 5, it's sunny and dry. 6 through 30, overcast and dry. 31 through 35, overcast and wet. And then you could have cloudy, windy, and dry. Overcast and rain, and cloudy and wet. Because weather does make a fact come into the race that you can slow down the cars. Essentially what you do is once the cars are ranked, they move so many spaces on the mythical track. There's no board here for you to do that with. You just keep track of it. And I think when you're tied or when you try to pass a car, there's a pass check. You can get 3 pass checks per lap. And that goes on a passing chart and how aggressive. And again, I haven't quite figured this out yet. We will take some time to do that at some point. You can also get the weather to change during the race. So you might start in the rain and it ends up sunny, or vice versa. You also have pit stops, and there's pit stop charts to go along with that. So if you're running at Spa, as it shows here, if you did a 1 pit stop race, you do it between laps 22 and 24. If it's a 2-stop race, which is sometimes common in Formula One, especially in the years where you had to fuel, it shows you those. Accident chance with the question mark. You re-roll. 1 to 5 is an accident. 6 to 10 is not. So it's all dice driven, and Anthony claims that it should take about a half hour to qualify and about an hour and a half to run a race. All right, so let me get back on camera and I'll tell you what I like so far. What I like so far is that when I try to look through it with all the drivers, you never can get the same car twice, depending on the roll. So if you want to do a straight 2019 replay, you can go with everyone's 2019 cars. If the base rating, so especially because the drivers are all, that's really confusing. Because it spans the complete history of Formula One, all the cars are equalized. And if you go before, let's say, the early 70s, none of the cars had wings. But all the cars are equal. And so you can have the best go against the best. That's the beauty of Anthony's tennis game, is you can have Pete Sampras go against Bill Tilden, or John McEnroe against Roger Federer in their primes. And so that's the same with this game. You can have Mario Andretti, Jackie Stewart, Lewis Hamilton, and Lando Norris, if you want, all in the same field. The possibilities are endless, and because you're not guaranteed to get the same car every time, it would, let's say if you were doing a baseball game and you rolled for which Mickey Mantle season you could get, you might get a Triple Crown season, you might get 67 or 68 at the end of his career where he's not going to be so good. It gives the game infinite variability. I like that. I like the fact that all the tracks have different statuses. The tracks make a huge difference in Formula One. It's the same as if you were playing any sort of golf game. Monaco, which is very much a non-passing narrow street course, it's going to be very difficult to get around at Monaco. And there's a high attrition rate because you're just stuck most of the time, compared to Monza or Silverstone in England, or Monza in Italy, where those tracks are built for speed, and they're played like that. And so one place where you might get more passing and another one where it's just going to be, I hope you qualified well. You could qualify in a number of different ways. You can actually break down qualifying into 2 or 3 parts if you want. The variabilities in this game are incredible, and it can be whatever it is you want it to be, which is fantastic. The replayability of this is absolutely through the roof. And again, I do intend on buying a couple other sets at some point. Now the bad thing, the things that I'm not quite sure on yet, and again, I think it comes down to practice making perfect, trying to comprehend a lot of the different rules there. I had a hard time trying to figure out how to get my base number because all the racers go on a base number, and then there's a pole number, and then you average the two for qualifying, and then roll dice for that. And so I'm assuming that I add the base, when you saw on Senna's card there, those first 2 numbers you add together, and that is your base. And then everything is converted on another chart where you get started. So it's just a lot to go through just to start. I wish that was easily explained. He does have an out-of-the-box rating for all the drivers if you want to skip that and put everybody kind of like in an IROC situation, everyone into, let's say, a Ferrari or whatever. Everyone kind of in the same car. He said, you can tell in the directions, he really doesn't want people to do that, but if it makes it easier for you to start, go ahead. I believe what he's trying to do is just kind of get everyone to have the feel of how successful the car there was in. There are, according to him, 11 cars that with perfect ratings, which I'm assuming is 1, 1, and 0. Senna is one that I showed you. I would like to do, at some point, a race with all perfect 11 cars. So, again, also, it's a lot of visualization and imagination you need for the immersion. I'm not quite clear from the directions if I just add up. You go, depending on what your grade is here. I think I can pull up that page. 1 second. Okay, I think this tells you how many moves over the track you get per lap. So, but on the bottom it's confusing. No driver can be better rated than -4, which makes a lot of sense, or worse than a 1. But he's got base ratings at 20. So I'm not quite sure if everyone moves up to a 1 and they can lose it over the course of the race or not. So if that's the case, from -4 to 1, you can get potentially 25 moves over the course of a lap, and a 1 would be 20 moves over the course of the lap. And I suppose there's some sort of thing in the 20 some odd pages of rules that tells you how many squares ahead you are for a lap. The more squares you win, it's divisible by a time thing, and so you can get how much you're ahead by. And if you generally know what the good lap times are on the track, you can see who is there. So that's basically how the gameplay goes. But there are, oh my goodness, there's pit charts. And did I hit the right button? No, of course not. That's the button I want to hit. There's pit charts, and there's first lap charts, and there's safety car charts, and there's qualifying charts. It's just a lot to go through. I wish there was a computer version of this. It would be an instant, absolutely instant buy. So to finish this up, my first impressions are, yes, the learning curve is difficult. This is not something that you're going to be able to pick up, I think, the first night that you pull it out. Just take it in steps. Once it gets figured out, and there wasn't anything that I went as reading through this going, I'm never doing this again. That's always a good sign for a very complex game. I don't understand. So once I get the hang of it, I think this is going to be a game that, again, you could probably do over the course of 2 or 3 sittings. It does look like one I'll be able to play, again, outside of the 166 pages of PDF, which has, again, he's gone into such detail, which I think is great, and all the cards and stuff like that. It is something that you could put on a piece of paper. It literally is a 20-sided die, 2 10-sided die, and a 6-sided die. That's it. and of course, pen, paper, and a heck of a lot of imagination. I'm not going to get the chance really to play with it much the weekend I record this, but I will hopefully the next time, if I can get qualifying down, I'd be thrilled. So follow me for more of this type of thing. The directions to me read confusing, and of course, when you create a game, you know how the game plays in your head. The one thing I wish that was explained a little bit better was how you got the base rating thing. But there's a lot of different ratings there. I think just kind of a sample of what adjustments you make to do, maybe in a crib sheet like that, so you can get a final rating and where to put cars on the grid so you can roll. And again, I think the other thing is on those 2 pages of the card charts. Do I roll? When do I flip over? Is that only on an X roll for that? I'm sure it's in the directions. So yes, there is a learning curve to it, but hopefully it's one that I'm willing to go through. I know it's one I'm willing to go through and learn. And the next time, maybe we'll just kind of walk through some qualifying. All right, I'm Ron Zuckett. Thank you so much for watching. Have yourself a great weekend, everybody. Bye-bye.